So let's continue the assembly. The fuel pump I ordered was just delivered last night. We're going to install it now. So today is the 8th of May. I was supposed to get the pump on the 4th of May, but there was a 4-day delay. I'll show you what caused that delay. So here they gave me back the old parts. The plunger pairs, the valves, the delivery valves, and also an injector, these inserts, and the bearings. You can see the condition of the bearing. You can see how it's chipped. That's it. There was a problem, and the problem was that they weren't in stock, so they had to be ordered and we had to wait. That's why the repair took so long. So, now I have the pump, the injectors. I haven't checked the injectors yet, by the way. The injectors are also ready. They also have new nozzles. So now what are my actions? I'm replacing this sealing ring, putting the ring under the oil channel. So what other problem do I have? We can see wear on the pump itself. That's correct. Right here, there's a small step, about 1/10 or 2, which may not be visible on camera. And also, if we look at the block, we can see a small indentation as well, about 1/10 to 2. Now let's switch to the other camera to show you how this outfit looks. So there's this kind of step, and that's what this wear looks like on the actual block. This happens because the mounting bolts loosen, causing the pump to shift slightly. It moves by mere fractions of a millimeter, along with water, dirt, and other substances. And it ends up wearing out a groove like this for itself. Basically, that's the kind of wear you get. So very often this kind of wear happens, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Because the pump is big and heavy, the support area ends up being, well, you can see this little piece here, that's the whole support area for the pump. Here it's just resting on a rubber pad, so this kind of pump is heavy by itself. Yes, it's big. Plus, there's extra force involved. So, why is this dangerous? Yes, what can this lead to? What can this cause for us? The pump, as a result, will sit a little lower, and in this drive gear there won't be any clearance. If there's no clearance, it starts to break apart this gear. In general, there were such cases that, what do I want to do? I want to cut out from a beer can, well, basically a piece of tin, about 3/10 thick. That is to glue it on and then cover everything with sealant and install the pump. There are no other options. You must replace the pump housing. That's why now I'll look for some sheet metal, maybe copper sheet metal, or maybe an aluminum can. If all else fails, I'll cut a 0.03 dipstick and use that as a last resort. Here, now, I'll set 14 degrees on the flywheel. I'll set it, well, as I said, I'll change the rubber gasket. Now I'll deal with this tin piece, glue the gasket, and we'll install the pump. I installed the pump without gaskets or anything else, just to check the clearance. So we can see that it's jammed. There's absolutely no movement at all. That is, I still need to put at least 2/10 just so I have at least a little bit of clearance. I cut a gasket out of a beer can, measured its thickness to be 1/10 of a millimeter, made it with 2 layers, already tightened it, and we can see the result. We can see there's a gap now, literally just a tiny one, not even 1/10, maybe 1/100th of a millimeter, but now we have some play, and that's how it should be. So let me show you the compressor as well. You can see even the drive pulley of the compressor also has some play. So, leaving it like this, 2/10 is quite enough. I'm removing the pump and installing the gaskets. This is how it looks under the pump. I applied 2 layers of glue, 1 layer holding the pieces together and the second just on the bend. That's it, so I'm leaving it as is. I'll also put a little sealant on top here. Well, if anyone knows a more effective way or something better, I don't know. In general, if anyone knows another way to get out of this situation, please write it in the comments. So write it in the comments, it will be interesting to read. And preferably not just theory, like what could possibly be done somehow, but preferably from real experience. Who has already dealt with this, and how did you get out of this situation? After rechecking and tightening all 4 bolts, the first cylinder is at top dead center on the camshaft, indicating compression. The flywheel shows 10 to 15. The pump is installed. Now I'm closing this cover and will start installing the injectors. So I've coated the injector body with this copper grease. It's good up to 1000 degrees. I used to have a spray, but I ran out. This injector body will work too. I coat the nut with Phoebe ceramic paste. It's a great product that I like, but honestly it's very
expensive.
These flash drives were installed when I was disassembling engines. I didn't install them myself. They are meant to be installed on all engines. But honestly, I don't see much use in them. Supposedly, they cover this guide here, where the injector is inserted. Here we have the injector being inserted, and it covers this guide here.
Yes, so
in any case, if moisture gets in, it enters not only through the guide, but also through the nut itself. That's why I usually don't install them. Well, just like they were installed on this engine. Well, basically, alright, I decided to install them, and at the same time show on video that these kinds of tabs exist. So, I installed the sockets, now I'm installing, tightening the nuts. So, the pump is installed, tightened, I put it in place. The injectors are also tightened. I put this cover on, closed it. Before closing the cover, I double-checked the ignition. Everything's excellent, so we're done. So what will I do next? Probably I'll put this tube here, bend it a little. I won't make a hose, so that it's just a solid tube without a hose. Then I'll make another tube here as well. The air supply, T-connector and hoses are ready, but I'll install them after painting and starting up. Next, I'll install the return hose and high-pressure fuel tubes. So, what else did I want to show? Here, I already have the transfer case disassembled. I had to take it apart.
Completely, but...
For now, I won't say anything. Later there will be a separate episode about repairing this transfer case on the channel. I washed the filter, removed the old one, and cleaned everything. I wanted to install it, but the cylinder is in the way. Now I need to find another place for the filter. That is, I want to try now to unscrew these two bolts, move them to this side. So as usual with these modifications, it just takes so much time, I just have no words. So, in general, I've already been here at work for 3 hours again. 3 hours already thinking I'd start the engine, but 3 hours have passed and practically nothing has been done yet. I'm showing the bracket it didn't fit and was hitting the cylinder, so I removed it and cut off the unnecessary parts like an extra piece. I cut all of that off. I fitted it, adding a washer and making some adjustments to raise it a bit for my needs. The hoses don't fit again. Let's make them here. I made a longer hose. I moved the one that was here. The one that was here before was too short and doesn't fit anywhere. So I installed the return line, also the return line to the pump. I seem to have fitted the coolant pipe here just a little bit. Well, I still need to adjust it a bit now. I installed the supply line, that is the one coming from the tank. There's a little pump here. Everything is already in place for us. But now I'm wondering how the breather will fit for me. I need another pipe.
Is it in the way? So
I brought the breather. Let's unpack and examine it. Yes, the tube is in the way. I'll remove it now, install the breather, and then we'll decide what to do with the tube. So, I kept bending this tube and ended up breaking it, so I found another tube made of stainless steel. It's generally very strong, but I managed to bend it and install everything.
it's all right.
I have a question about the compressor. I've already discussed the air hoses more than once. I won't go back there anymore. Once I finish, I'll show you. So what's next? What do I want to show? This is our untightened supply line. I'll attach the hose and install a new filter. The fuel supply and return are connected here. So the engine will run on this oil, Lukoil Avantgarde, fully synthetic, 1040. Okay, so I poured in about 31 to 32 liters of oil. If I check with the dipstick, it already shows that it's above the level. I'm unsure, it could be the wrong dipstick or something else. I don't have the specific oil quantity data for this particular engine. When I drained it, there was about 29 to 8 gallons. For now, I poured in 8 gallons. Let's see how it goes. I installed the starter and connected the battery, so now I'm checking how it's going to turn over. I'm going to check, turn it over, and see if the battery is alive. I still need to install the oil sensor, fill the diesel, and do the spacers. So, well, that means I'm completely ready. Everything is set up, everything's ready. So I'll tell you briefly what was done. So I connected it like this. This is my tank. For now, the return line is set up into a separate bottle. I'll pump it through so some diesel comes out of the pump. I've been doing it this way lately to flush the system. This is my supply line from the tank. Manual priming, low pressure pump, then the filter, from the filter to the pump, and the return line, return from the injectors, return from the pump. So here I hung it a bit on a chain, kind of as a safety measure, and here I made these spacers on nails. In short, everything was completed swiftly. I spent the entire day on this, from 10 anti-meridium to 6 post-meridium at work without a lunch break. The starter was connected on a spacer with nails, and the battery is also connected. It turns over well. Alright, so as usual I have gas. Alright, so what am I doing now? Pump it? No, first I drink tea, then I pump it and try to start it. Alright, that's it. I drank my tea, put on new gloves, charged the camera a bit. Now let's pump it and try. Everything's pumped, checked, oil and water filled. Let's try it. Alright, so what can I say? Basically, everything is good, it's working well, running smoothly. There's some smoke, which is understandable. The lubricant, including the red grease and oil, is burning off. There's a lot of it. Regardless, there will be smoke from burning lubricant. Also, it's cold, so heat it up to operating temperature and then see how it works. Basically, yes, everything is fine. So it turns out, how many times did you start it? 3 times? I didn't even use half a liter of diesel. It's showing about 40 to 45 degrees right now. I'm not heating it up too much.
Basically.
Everything is fine except for the oil level. According to the dipstick, it hasn't changed. Now, even after running it through the system, it's still above the level. So either the dipstick isn't the original one or the oil pan, well, I can't say it's small. Visually, there should be about 30 liters, plus I drained 30 liters myself. I have the data, but it may not apply to this specific engine model, as it could have a different oil pan. Let's say like 2866. On one engine, it's 26 or 27, and on another, it's 35 or even 37. The difference depends on the oil pan, engine brand, and model. This minor detail will be clarified later. So, I'll start it up again, and basically I'll be removing everything. All these pipes of mine. And that's it. I'll be taking out all this diesel stuff in general, the sensors, all of that will be removed. And I'll be getting it ready for painting. It appears I have everything prepared for painting. As always, I've covered all areas, including the manifold, threads, and other parts. So, as usual, if a little paint gets on the basket, it's no big deal. I also covered the nameplates on the pump, also covered the nameplate on the engine, under the starter, the pulleys, the sensors, and so on. Basically, that's it. My engine is ready. Here we have primer with hardener. This is our paint. So, I won't show what color it is yet. The color is interesting. I haven't painted any part of the car, including the gearbox and engine, in this color before. I don't choose the paint, I just buy it. The paint isn't mine. So, whatever they brought, that's what we'll use to paint. So, we'll see. I'm actually curious myself to see how the engine will look in this color. Again, I haven't seen it yet. There hasn't been a color like this before. Well, you can pause and write your guess in the comments about what color it will be. That's all. So, now I'll mix the primer, hang up the engine, and we'll get started. Okay, so this is our primer and now the paint. I'm not sure how it will turn out, but I'm intrigued to find out. Let's proceed. I'm continuing the assembly, installing various hoses, tubes, fittings, etc. For the compressor, I only had the coolant pipes made, as I recall. Now I've made the air supply, well, like this. Here I installed a T at the air outlet, and this is already the original pipe going from here. And here we made this kind of hose. We couldn't come up with any other solution, there just aren't any other options. So we made this hose, and basically everything should be fine. Good, installed. Already the tube, here I had to make this kind of extension, because the tube was positioned a bit differently. But overall, basically everything is fine. Everything is already done. Next, what else do I need to do? I need to install the exhaust manifold and the pump, power steering. So I prepared the manifold, here I leveled the surface a bit, and I prepared the gaskets. So I took the manifolds to the welder and he cut out the partitions. There was a damper here for the engine brake, which already shows corrosion on its surfaces. Nothing more can be done. I cleaned it up. There were homemade gaskets here, but now we'll have factory gaskets that are thick and soft like this. So I think it'll seal well. So now the power steering pump, I'm fitting it in and it looks like the pipes don't fit again. That's not important now. I can't redo anything at this point anyway. Now I'm installing the new pump, unscrewing the pipes, and the pipes will go, I don't know, somehow, maybe they'll go like this, maybe they'll go like that. I was installing the pipes basically somewhere around here. I tightened them with a clamp because they all ended up, well, basically crossing over each other and so on. I put the rubber seals in, tightened them with a clamp. Here I also put a clamp and tightened it again. The only thing is that these pipes were a bit lower. I mean, now I looked at the photo, the engine is not disassembled, and these pipes are practically lying right on top of each other, so, well, they were about 3 or 4 centimeters lower. I don't think the cab drops down and sits directly against the engine. There's still a 11.81 inches gap here, so everything should be fine. So this is the kind of assembly we got here from the pipes. I checked everything, there's a gap everywhere, that is, nothing is touching anywhere, there's space everywhere, and so on. It's impossible to improve further. I did my best. That's the limit of our capabilities. That's all. During this time, while I've been struggling here with all these tubes, I think I could have already assembled the box by now, that's for sure. So my engine is assembled. The only thing is that I still haven't installed the generator here, and there's also this outlet here. It's attached with 2 bolts, it's aluminum. The engine is heavy and can easily break the frame if it presses against it. It's best to install it in place. So now about the prices. For the spare parts for this engine, 4,000, 7,000 rubles was spent, 4,000, 7,000 rubles. The piston group is the most expensive at 17,000 per set. In total, it comes to 170,000. Well, of course, if it were, let's say, a 6-cylinder engine, then obviously it would be cheaper. After the piston group, the clutch is the most expensive component, which includes the flywheel, pressure plate, disc, release bearing, and flywheel bearing. The total cost was around 50 to 52,000 rubles, which is equivalent to 172 to 222,000. The engine and everything else, including the power steering pump and compressor modification, comes to a total of 180,000 rubles. We replaced the crankshaft, a cylinder, 2 connecting rods, a bearing, a bushing, inserts, and more. The 180,000 also includes the 20,000 rubles. The 180,000 rubles also covers all 4 mounts, 2 in the front and 2 in the rear, which cost around 20,000 rubles. So now, regarding the fuel pump, the repair of the fuel pump and injectors together, labor and parts, cost 96,000 rubles. Additionally, the cylinder heads need grinding and the rod bushings need boring. I am unsure of the exact details. This cost about 10,000 rubles, or roughly 510,000 rubles engine. So, if you also consider that there will be repairs for the gearbox, 2 gearboxes, plus repairs for the transfer case, you can imagine what the total cost of this repair, the repair of this car, will be. So this means that this is our last episode in the series about this engine. As I mentioned, there won't be an installation yet because I'll be working on the gearbox. We'll have a 2-episode series about this car's gearbox, the first one covering disassembly and the second one covering assembly. A video about the transfer case is still planned, but there are some questions about it. I won't get ahead of myself for now, but questions do exist. Remember to like and leave a comment below this video. These are the main ways the algorithms work. So, if anyone supports this video with a like or a comment, thank you all very much. On that note, I'll wrap up this video. That's how the repair of the 10-cylinder engine turned out. That's how the series turned out. Thank you all for watching. Good luck to everyone. Goodbye, everyone.